Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 78 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast discussing Landlocked Properties Series 2. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Before we get into the show, let's go over a question from one of our featured members. This question was from Nick in our Discord. I currently have a pretty demanding 9-to-5 job where I work some weekends as well. I want to get the freedom you guys talk about in the next 5 years. I have about $7,000 saved and I'm ready to get started. What advice would you give someone in my position? First off, I love the 5-year goal. He's not talking the next few months, Ron, so he's realistic there.
Yeah, for sure. It's that's why we're in this, Dan. Like helping people like this who are willing to put in the long-term work. And I think you can do it a lot shorter than 5 years, but having that mindset that could potentially be 5 years, I love that mindset. I really do that. It might take 5 years of hard work. But advice for this is you just got to find some time in the day. Honestly, $7,000 is a good amount to start with, Dan. So I'm happy about that. That puts you in a really good position to get some mail out to invest in the course if you haven't done so already and learning the process. But you just got to get started. Like the main thing is education. Continue to educate yourself. Purchase the course if you haven't done that, and just do it when you have free time. Don't pressure yourself. And Daniel talks a lot about it. You don't have to do it all in one day. It's about consistent effort on a day-to-day, a week-to-week basis. Even if you can only get 30 minutes done one day, get that 30 minutes done. Don't skimp out on that 30 minutes or whatever it is. But just progressing every single day, I think, is my best advice for you.
Yeah, completely agree. Just moving the needle forward every day, not having too many standstills. It's hard when your job's that demanding. Maybe find a partner with a little more time. We had a coaching call with one guy today, Ron, John, in our coaching, and he said that he has his nephew and brother helping him out. I don't know what his situation is with his 9-to-5 job. I'm pretty sure he still has a job from what I remember, Ron, but he got help around him because of that. So don't be afraid to ask for help or partner with someone. I mean, if you can put 10 hours a week in and someone else can put 10 hours a week in, you guys in 6 months, if you put 10 hours a week in every week, moving the needle forward based on our course and what we teach, you will be shocked looking back 6 months from now of how long you've come and how far you've come. So really like that question. That was really good. But let's get into the show, Ron. Making opportunities out of landlocked property. What's a landlocked property and why is this a hot topic?
So landlocked property is one that doesn't have, I look at it as one that doesn't have legal access, Daniel. So sometimes there'll be a path going back there, but it's a property that's off of a county maintained road and there's not legal access. By off of the road, I mean, it's far back, it's behind other properties with road access, but it doesn't have any direct road access. So that's in short is defining what a landlocked property is. Let's get into how to make opportunities of these, Dan, because there definitely are opportunities. So I'm excited to talk about this. It's kind of in our niche series that we've talked about a little bit. We've went into subdividing a little bit, but getting deeper into these landlocked properties can bring a lot of value, I believe.
Well, the first thing we've got to start with, Ron, the property is landlocked. What's that mean? We got to buy a landlocked property. What do I mean by that? We have to buy it discounted. We cannot be paying 40, 50% of the property when there's no legal access. So when you guys first get a landlocked property back and you're looking for opportunities, first step would be to negotiate down. Tell them, say, hey, I did some due diligence. I got your offer back. Thanks for getting that purchase agreement over. After doing more due diligence, I found out there's no access. So that's the first thing I would do is negotiate that down or offer them based on the landlocked property, Ron.
For sure. I think the first, like Daniel said, you want to gauge, like if they're like, okay, it's landlocked, this is what you offered me, then they're probably not going to budge on that price. But if they're like, yeah, I understand, what's the best you can do? Some people will be as blunt as that. Like they just want to get rid of the land and you just have to come up with some kind of offer that's above zero, to be honest. So like Dan, you need to be cheap on these. There's different types of landlocked property. There's properties that are 2 miles off the road, and then you have properties that are 200 feet off the road, which isn't as much work to get access. But the main thing is having, like Daniel said, buying a landlocked property. You need to buy it for a landlocked property price. You cannot try to go in at at 50% of market value, because really that landlocked market value isn't really what it's obviously not the same as what a road access market value is.
And I would say, so we talked a little bit about this, but look for easements first. Even if there doesn't appear to be road access or any sort of access around, sometimes there's a hidden dirt road or legal. We've bought properties that have legal access, but no physical access. So that's what he's talking about, legal access versus physical access there. So look for easements. The best way to start for looking for easements, Ron, in my opinion, is just asking the person who you're buying from, right? Say, how do you get back there? Is there a legal access? Is there an easement that you know of, whatever it is? That will save you some time. And then you can start digging if they don't know in the county and whatnot. But once you look for access, you got to determine how desirable of a property this is. Like Ron said, is it 200 feet, 500 feet, or is it 5,000 feet? Because you will come across both in this industry. And obviously, the closer to the road, the better. And we'll get into that in a little bit, Ron.
Yeah, for sure. It's not every landlocked. It's hard to. I wanted to structure this episode because it's hard to give a lot of value on every single situation. We just can't do that because there are so many different situations that come up with landlocked properties. But at the same time, like they are different. You got to understand what differs a landlocked property. Like Dan said, if you're just looking at every landlocked property the same, it's not going to be the same. Some landlocked properties have very good opportunity to get access to them, whether it's buying access or just asking a neighbor for access. While some you have to go through 20 properties to get access, and it's just not a realistic thing. So yeah, knowing what to look at with these landlocked properties and identifying if there's potential for it is something that we should get into.
Yep, exactly. So we determined how far off the road. So let's say it's only 500 feet off the road. How many properties away from it? Is it five properties? You need to go through five properties and get an easement from five different properties, or is it one property away? So if it's close to the road and it's one property away from having an easement or access, that's when I'll consider these next steps. Let's get into those next steps, Ron, of what to do when that good opportunity arises. So follow those previous steps. We're there. We like this opportunity. Let's talk about those next steps, Ron.
Yeah, assuming you really did your research, you found out that there is no access there, like you search for easements, maybe you reach out to a title company to help you a little bit. But what I would do is just look for a platter survey with the county, see if there's access. Once that comes up negative and there's no access, you need to start trying to figure out a way to get that easement. To do this, you're going to have to reach out to the neighbors. So whoever is in front and has road access, you're going to have to reach out to them. And you have a couple options. If it's vacant land, you have the option to buy their land, to offer to buy their land. And doing that via a phone call or something that you can offer a lot more than or not more than market value, but you can offer like 60, 70, 80% of market value because you're getting that landlocked property so cheap. Another option you have is buying an easement from them or just asking them for an easement, honestly, before you offer money. Just say, like, I'm trying to get access to this property behind. I see you guys aren't using your property. Could I write up an easement? Could I have an easement drawn up and have an easement through the corner of your property or something like that?
Yeah, and always when you can't buy the whole property and you're looking for an easement, always make sure you get it on the border of the property. You don't want to go straight through someone's property. Just say, I'm just going to get on the corner. It's going to be 20 feet or whatever the restrictions are in that county. It needs to be a 50-foot easement. Tell them it's just going to be a 50-foot easement. We're going to put a small road through there. It's going to be gravel. We'll take care of it, make it look good, all that stuff. But I do have an example I want to go over, a real life example. So this is an example. We got 20 acres back that's landlocked. It's 500 feet from the road, Ron. There are two small properties in front of this 20 acres, side by side. So there's two properties. So it's only one away from the road, though. But there's two side by side. So two properties could give us access, right? And that's what you want to look when you have these bigger properties. It could be you could have 10 properties that could potentially give you access, right? So you got to look at how many properties have the potential to get an easement or to buy the property through. So in this case, there's two, right? But it's only one property away from the road. One has a mobile home on it and the other's vacant. They're both 2 acre lots, right? 20 acres, the offer price was $75,000. We negotiated down because there was no access. It was 20 acres. We thought $25,000 was good for recreational land for 20 acres in this. So we got it down from 75,000 to 25,000, a third of what it was worth. It's pretty accurate description, I think, Ron. That might even be a little heavy, honestly, but this is a
Mm-hmm.
good situation here. So you got it down to 25,000 with no road access. And the 20 acres with road access, Ron, if this 20 acres was on the road with road access, it's a good property. It's going for about retail 160 to 180, we think. 2 acres in front of it is going for retail 15 to $20,000. So we have one vacant, one with a mobile home. What do we do in this situation?
Yeah, without a doubt, like try to buy that 2 acre property. Uh, if you can get that 2 acre property for $20,000 and you're all in for $45,000 for, and now you have access. So you have 22 acres. 20 acres is selling for 160 minimum, we're saying. So now you have a buy for $45,000 and sell for 165, 170 because you have those two additional acres. So without a doubt, like try to buy that front property for like do whatever it takes to buy that front property. It's more valuable than having an easement. Like you actually have 2 acres, whatever the road access amount is, but you have 2 acres that are on the road. Like that is an unbelievable deal, and it's really not that much work. The one thing you need to do is make sure that those properties close pretty close to being simultaneous. You don't want to sign documents uh, buying that 2 acre property before you have signed documents for that 20 acre property, and vice versa, because
Yes, good point.
you don't want 2 acres for $20,000 if that's market value. And what if the 20 acres backs out, or vice versa? You don't want 20 acres that is landlocked without any access and that 2 acres backs out. So that's really important to do in these situations. But I mean, that's a home run deal, Dan. And it's a deal that makes a ton of sense. Like those are things that are going to come back. Not every mailer, but one out of every 5,000 mailers you send, I would imagine you're going to get something like that coming back,
You
right?
just need to be able to, yeah, you need to be able to just evaluate those situations when take the opportunity and take the time to understand them and really take action. This is such it's not, I would not say this is an extreme example at all around. We talk about our Durham, North Carolina property. This is such similar numbers to what they did there. We got 5 acres behind it. They bought the two for almost retail, and the five now it's 7 acres that we bought for 100 grand, and we have it listed for 300. You act when there's a bigger property behind a smaller property, and that smaller property gives it access. That's when the situation arises. That's the ideal situation. But if we took that 2 acres and now turned it into 5 to 10 acres in front that we have to buy, it's going to make it a little more challenging. You're going to have to increase or decrease the percentage you're offering. So you're not going to offer 100% of retail, like Ron's saying, $20,000 if for 2 acres. If 5 acres is going, say, for $50,000 or so, or $40,000, let's say, you're not going to be able to necessarily offer $40,000 for that. Actually, it probably still would make sense, but if you go, you get what I'm saying, Ron.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. You can make so much money per deal doing stuff like this. We say it again and again. Like, I don't suggest you doing this on your first deal, your second deal. Like, it's going to be difficult and you're going to have a hard time getting through the process of it. But once you're 5, 10 deals in, like, if you don't have a lot of time, like Nick in the question who asked originally, like maybe you just get a niche, like become really good at this, where you're getting landlocked properties under contract. And the great thing about this, everyone is happy that landlocked, and they're usually happy anyways, but that landlocked property is getting 25 grand for their landlocked property that didn't have access without us, and that 2 acre property is getting over retail or retail value for their property that was vacant and they were probably doing nothing with. So really everyone wins, and then you can go and sell this $45,000 property you just bought for $165,000. So, and those are so realistic. Like, I just want to reiterate that, like, these are extremely realistic numbers. You guys might think it's crazy us talking someone down from 75 grand to 25 grand, but it's just like, it's a simple conversation. Listen, I made that offer based on it having road access. This doesn't. The best I can do is 25,000, 30,000, whatever it is.
Okay, so that now they go, Ron, I want to go over the next situation. They go to that, they offer $20,000. The person says, no, we're getting ready to build our dream home on that property. We wouldn't sell this for any dollar amount, or we wouldn't sell this for 20,000. That's, what we're bought it for, and it would take more than that. Then maybe offer a little more because you have so much wiggle room. You can offer 150% comfortably, maybe even 200%. You really could. And that's in this situation. But say you just can't get it, then the next step would be, like Ron discussed, is going and trying to buy an easement from them. Say, hey, I need 50 feet. Can you just sell me 50 feet of access on the corner of your property? for X amount of money. I'd probably start low and go high. If you're in communication with them, use your sales skills. Always start low and go high. Even when you're negotiating for that 2 acres, I wouldn't start at retail. Start low if you can get them on the phone. If you have to send them a letter and you can't get a hold of them on the phone, Ron, that's when I would offer retail, to be honest, because you know that contact's much more important. You don't want them throwing that away.
Yeah, for sure. Skip trace them. Get you probably already skip trace them if you're trying to buy the property, but yeah, just having something drawn up where you show them like, listen, this is just like here's the 2 acres, and I just need 20 feet on this side for a driveway to go back to my property. I'm not going to use. We're not going to use anything other than that 20 feet going back there. You still have the rest of this land, and again, you can offer this one. You obviously don't want to offer $10,000. Like start at like $200 or something like that, then maybe go up to $1,000 max or something. Like, I mean, I would go up over 1,000 with these numbers, but $1,000 to get 20 feet of access is extremely reasonable on both sides. So I think it's just coming up with a number that makes sense. It is going to cost a little more because you got to think about your end buyer. Your end buyer isn't going to have direct road access. They're going to have to clear that easement if you don't do that, and they're going to clear the easement and put some kind of driveway there to get back to their 20 acres. So it is a little tighter, I think, but there's situations that are going to come up that are going to make it a little more difficult.
Yeah, and you can still make it work now that you have legal access. Buying that property, that 2 acres would have been the most ideal, Ron, because that would have gave us, hundreds of feet of road access directly to the property instead of a little sliver of access. So step one was definitely the most ideal. Now we moved on to step two to get that easement. The numbers are going to go down a little bit, I think, to be honest. Not necessarily if the access is paved and you have great access, but people do like road access. So I'll just throw that out there. But now let's just change this up real quick, Ron, real quick, and we'll close out on this example. So the same exact example, except now there's 8 acres. So it's all to scale, Ron. It's all to scale. So now there's 8 acres that go for 60 to 70K in front of that 25 instead of that 20 acres. So 8 acres going for 60 to 70,000 retail in front of that 20 acres. So that's the only property that would give it road access, let's say. And what do you do in that situation?
8 acres on the road.
8 acres on the road for 60 to 70,000. So now instead of 2 to 20 acres, you have 8 that would give us access to 20. So you got to understand your numbers here. Eight's going for 60 to 70 now instead of 2 to
Yeah.
15 to 20.
I mean, I would target like 40 to 50, I think, Dan. Like you're gonna have 28 acres for that are gonna retail around 200 grand, I would say, based on what our numbers are. So I mean, if you can buy that for 40 or 50 grand, you're all in for 75, 65 grand. Like you're in really good shape still. Even if you go up to that $60,000, you buy for 85, sell for 100. Like 28 acres is a ton. And you
Yeah,
also have options at point, Daniel. Like, do you want to sell those together? Yeah, probably. But you also have the option, maybe you buy them both and put an easement down to 8 acres and then sell them separately. So you can get 8 acres you can get $70,000 for that 8 acres, and then you can end up getting $160,000 for that 20 acres back there. So you have so many options. If you get that landlocked property so cheap, you have so many options to make a ton of money. And the biggest hurdle is finding a way to get that access back there.
I agree. You have options. The first part's just getting that under very, very well under market value. And then you can have some wiggle room, just like we said. Now you have 20 acres, now you have 28 acres for all in. We were 25,000 plus 50,000. So 75,000 and 20. If 20 acres were going for 160 to 180, maybe 28 acres is going for 200 plus, Ron. So still a very, very, very solid deal. Very reasonable, and definitely guys look into doing this if you guys have not already.
Yeah. We like so much of our business model, Dan, is so much like a shotgun approach, like send thousands of mailers, send this consistently, do this, do this. When we get stuff like this, we become extremely precise, where we're being very direct with one or two people to try to get access, to try to buy their property. And it becomes very it's a whole different kind of business model when we get these properties back, because it's so direct with these people who we
Exactly.
might have never spoken to before. And maybe they even got our letter, the 2 acres in front, never got our letter, but we offer $5,000. Now we're saying, all right, we can pay retail, we can pay $22,000. And that's where the money is. It's just, it's becoming precise with these. It's getting that landlocked property at 30%, probably lower than that, honestly, 20 to 25% of what it's actually worth, or
Start
what
low and
market
go
value
high.
says.
If you have
Exactly.
a purchase, like you're in communication with them because you have a purchase agreement already, he called you, whatever, start low. You can always move up. It's hard to move down. But guys, as always, thank you for joining. To get started and to unlock your potential freedom, visit landinvestingonline.com. We even have a free Discord where Ron and I and tons of other successful investors are involved. If you guys got value, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever you guys are listening on. It means a lot to Ron and I. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.
Thanks, guys.